Can I just get a thumbs up that folks can see the slide on the screen? Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure. Appreciate it. Looks like we have folks joining from all over the country. So again, thanks for taking some time in these last days of Advent to pray for peace and act for peace. We see New Orleans, New York, Albuquerque, Ohio, California, St. Louis. Thanks for joining all. And again, we just invite you to remain muted so we can create the sacred space together. So again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining from. Thanks for joining this session. My name is Lisa, and I serve as the Justice and Peace Coordinator for the U.S. Federation of the Sisters of St. Joseph. We're one of the sponsoring communities here today, and several folks have gathered to collaborate on this Christian call-in day for ceasefire. Some of those collaborators include the Franciscan Action Network, Franciscan Peace Center in Clinton, Iowa, the Marino Office of Global Concerns, Pax Christi USA, Sisters of Charity of Leavenworth Justice Office, the Sisters of Mercy of the Americas Justice Team, and again, the Federation. We ask that you remain muted, and you can keep your camera on or off as you feel comfortable. You might wish to have a candle near you, and all are welcome here, whether you are an associate, a sister, a partner in mission, a friend of a community, a person of faith. We recognize that there are many charism families and people of faith present in this virtual space. Closed captioning has been enabled if that is of use for you. And again, you can keep your video on or off as you feel comfortable. We have 2 people here on this call who have the word tech in front of their name. So should you have any issues, you're welcome to reach out to them. Today, we will spend time in prayer and lament, taking moments of quiet and recalling the profound loss of life and precarity in the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza and throughout Israel, Palestine, and the region. I want to name that we do not come as experts in foreign policy or necessarily with decades of on the ground experience, but rather first and foremost as Christians, as people of faith who wish to embody peace and be in solidarity with all those who are suffering, regardless of race, ethnicity, creed, nationality, or language. This feels really salient today in these last days of Advent, where we anticipate the birth of Jesus, the incarnation, who chose to come and be with us as a vulnerable child. May we choose to be with and in solidarity with all those children and all those who are vulnerable in areas of violence today. Today, we partake in a Christian call-in to the White House, asking and urging the Biden administration for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. So we'll continue our time together in prayer. And this will be led by John and Rebecca, who serve in the Justice, Peace, and Integrity of Creation Office, the Sisters of Charity of Leavenworth. They'll begin with an opening prayer.
Our opening prayer is adapted from a service of prayer for peace in the Middle East from Pax Christi USA's Our Prayers Rise Like Incense, Liturgies for Peace. O God of peace and justice, we beseech you to bless those entrusted with charting peace for the Middle East and its people.
Grant them the patience, understanding, vision, and courage needed for this formidable challenge.
Entrust them with full awareness of their great task and of the fearful consequences should peace elude their efforts.
Sustain us as we draw upon the moving power of your Spirit to calm waters churning with generations of conflict.
Guide us as we give shape to a new vision in which all the peoples of our one Creator will find reconciliation and wholeness.
Strengthen our resolve to act in support of our nation's leaders, to forge in the Middle East a full and lasting peace for both the people of Palestine and Israel.
Enable us to bring about a peace in Jerusalem as a light to all of the nations and peoples of the world.
To this we say, Salam, Shalom, peace, Amen.
Amen.
We'll now encounter some of these realities. And Jennifer from the Franciscan Peace Center will lead us in this contemplation.
We mourn the loss of lives since October 7th. Approximately 1,200 Israelis have been killed. Over 130 hostages still held by Hamas. Over 1,800 Gaza residents killed, 70% of whom are women and children. 2 Christian women murdered inside Holy Family Parish in Gaza. We lament the precarity. The World Food Program estimates half of Gazans are starving. This is a dire crisis with the spread of disease, virtually no access to medicine, and internet outages. We pay attention to the cries of the people. Over 50 journalists killed. More than 1.8 million people in Gaza have been displaced.
In the words of Pope Francis in a recent general audience, who asked everyone to make an urgent commitment to ensure that humanitarian aid will reach the people of Gaza, who are at the end of their tether and in great need of it. Please No to weapons. Yes to peace. On the left-hand side of this slide is a photo from a ceasefire gathering outside the White House in early November. And before we make our collective call, we wanted to give people some context and some tools from folks who have long been committed to peace and nonviolence throughout the world. And so I'm grateful that Pax Christi USA's executive director can be with us today to go through some of those talking points and just give us a little bit of scope of what's going on. So Johnny, thanks for being with us.
Thanks so much, Lisa, and thanks everybody for being on the call today. I know that this is a difficult time, and especially what we've been experiencing, I think, is a little bit of Lent in Advent because of what we're seeing in Gaza. We shared with our folks in Pax Christi USA this week that this week is really critical for moving the needle on a ceasefire in Gaza. I know that all of you are up to date on the latest news, and last week we had reports that started to show cracks in the Biden administration's support of Israel's military campaign. We saw the shooting of 3 Israeli hostages by the IDF and how it led to increased calls among Israelis for an end to the war. And as we mentioned in the statistics we were just looking at, the murders of a mother and a daughter at Holy Family Catholic Church in Gaza by an IDF sniper has been met with outrage by the world community. So we've been asking folks to take action, as it says in the slide here, to urge President Biden to support an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. And that call-in day is today, and you can see the information on that slide for calling in. Some of the points that we are making include the ones that you see here. Asking people to appeal to President Biden as a person of faith. As Catholics, we have a special responsibility, I believe, because we share a faith with this president, to call him to account for an immediate and sustained ceasefire in Gaza. We're also pointing out on these calls that it's only a ceasefire that's going to stop the massive loss of life in Gaza. As we've heard the Pope call for, humanitarian aid needs to reach those in need, and we need to spell that out in this call. We need to decrease the threat of regional violence. We need to create an atmosphere to restart negotiations for the release of hostages held by Hamas, as well as those who are in captivity by Israel, Palestinian prisoners. We're asking people to use these specific talking points, and you can see the number to dial in there, registering your disagreement with President Biden's decision to send tank shells, bombs, and other munitions to Israel. Also, another suggested talking point that we're pushing out is that sending such weapons contradicts the president's own calls about avoiding the killing of civilians. And it makes us as a country, the United States, complicit in those violations of international law. We want to tell President Biden clearly and unequivocally that it's time for a ceasefire to end this trauma. And really, it is only the US at this point that can use its leverage. We can stop providing weapons to Israel. We can call for a ceasefire now, and we can prioritize the release of hostages and prisoners. As we consider these talking points, it's important to remember that they're rooted in that the root causes of this go back 75 years in the making, and that there is no military solution that is going to bring a resolution to this conflict. What is needed is a just peace, and that just peace is tied up to the security of both the people of Israel and then inextricably tied to the justice for the Palestinian people. President Biden needs to hear more than our words. He needs to use more than words to urge Israel to respect human rights. And he needs to use action and real leverage. And that real leverage consists in cutting military assistance. Some of y'all are aware that there are 2 resolutions in Congress right now that come close to putting conditions on US assistance. And this shows that our advocacy is working. So I hope you'll join me in reaching out, making a call today. You see the number there, you see the talking points. And if you need anything else to push you to make a call, to engage in action today, I want to leave you with these words from Rafat al-Riyar, who was a prominent Palestinian writer, poet, professor, who was killed just about 7 days ago. And one of his poems goes like this, and it's short. If I must die, you must live, to tell my story, to sell my things, to buy a piece of cloth and make some strings, make it white with a long tail, so that a child somewhere in Gaza, while looking heaven in the eye, awaiting his dad who left it in a blaze and bid no one farewell, not even to his flesh, not even to himself, sees the kite, my kite you made, flying up above, and thinks for a moment an angel is there, bringing back love. If I must die, let it bring hope. Let it be a tale. Let us call the White House and share this tale, bring this hope, and lift up our collected voices.
Thanks, Johnny. And as we did almost 2 months ago now in this call, and we know that the line can get jammed. So this number is on the screen. I'm gonna just briefly show this to folks so they know the times based on your time zone and the White House comment line. We've also included in the chat a link for this call-in day from Pax Christi. They have so many good resources and are really helping us to really, I think, lift up our voices collectively, and that can be really powerful. And finally, we can also link, you can send an email to the White House if you can't get in via phone. And the Sisters of Mercy have a great action alert that you can easily plug in. So that's going to be dropped in the chat as well. And I'm going to leave this, I'll leave the talking points up so folks can continue to kind of sit with those so that they feel comfortable in taking action today. And if you're not able to call in today, make a plan to call tomorrow and invite a few of your friends, colleagues, community members to join you. I'm going to offer us just a really brief moment of prayer and to add to the prayers we've had today. And it's simply this. Oh God, make us instruments of your peace. So I will remain muted, and I'll keep the slides up so that folks can continue to sit with these talking points, and I'll kind of flip back and forth. So again, make that plan to call or try calling now. Thanks to all 180 of you who have joined in this call today.